A senior dev told me my idea would take a week. I did it in 6 hours. Miami, 2 weeks ago. An AI hackathon. The organizers opened up the hackathon with one line. We don't know how to build like this anymore. They were pointing out at the early web, the messy, handmade, 1999 web. They were telling a room full of developers we lost the ability to make it and daring us to find it again. If you ever scoped a project like this, you probably also agreed with the senior dev. 5 autonomous AI agents, each running their own 1999 website, rewriting themselves on a 5-minute alarm. That's a real week of engineering for 2 people. I would have agreed too, 8 months ago. Here's what actually happened. I built an AI that lives in 1999. 5 of them, Becky, David, Linda, and Tyler. Each one has their own 1999 website. Each one writes it from scratch by itself every 5 minutes. They've been doing that for weeks, autonomously, untouched. We placed 3rd out of 25 teams, but the placement isn't the point. The point is the methodology that made it happen and what fell out of it. To those that don't know me, my name's Elioth. I've been operating businesses for the last 10 years in manufacturing, aerospace, and retail distribution. I've built and sold companies. I've also built and closed companies. Now I'm building Celavii and Cutmaster and working with other operators through their agentic journey. This is operator mode. This channel isn't going to teach how to code. There are better channels for that. What it's going to do is show you what happens in real time when an operator picks up the agentic toolchain and starts shipping with AI. Real workflows, real budgets, real failures. Every week, we're going to look at where the human judgment ends and the agentic execution begins, through builds, teardowns, and conversations with other operators. So the hackathon, Frontier Tech Week, a Y2K hackathon, following up the Miami AI Engineering Conference. 6 hours, in person, 25 teams. Sponsored by Neon, Jazz, Mux, and Cloudflare. The prompt again, we don't know how to build like this anymore. Pointing out at the early web as something we lost the ability to make. My answer, the one that landed, was don't try to be in 1999. Let's make an AI that lives in it. Now, I want to be honest about one thing. I had a teammate, a senior developer with 8 years of experience. At hour 0, I pitched him my idea from the cold open, a persona fleet. He shut it down. He said it would take a week. He pitched a Sky clone instead, using Mux. No agentic loop, just a video stream. I asked for 1 hour. Watch what happened in that hour. In that first hour, while my teammate explored the Sky clone, I did 6 things, and none of them were writing code. I drew on patterns from past builds. I wrote a plan. I wrote a spec sheet, mapped the resources and constraints, broke the project down into folder-sized proposals, each one for each stack: front-end, database, Jazz, Mux, and Cloudflare. Build the dependency tracker, checkpoints that any agent could read and know when to start and when to stop. Multiple agents working across a whole project, each on its own terminal. I call this methodology the importance of folder structuring for context engineering. And it's one of the most undervalued skills in AI building right now. After that first hour, I had the agentic tool running in Cloudflare's durable objects and sandboxing. An agent making its own site. My teammate looked over and said, "How did you ship that fast?" I walked him through the architecture. He's trained like other senior devs are trained. Understand the full system before building it. But the whole point of breaking the project into folder-sized proposals with dependency layers is that nobody has to. The agents know more about each layer than we do. The operator's job is the orchestration. He went back to the front end. I kept scaling the system. So while my teammate built the front end, here's what happened on my side of the table. I wasn't running an agent. I was running a fleet of them. 5 Claude agents, each running on their own terminal, own folder, and implementation directory, each on a different model tier and thinking mode, depending on how hard the work was for that folder. In parallel, on a second machine, OpenClaw was running with DeepSeek and Gemini. DeepSeek for the orchestration layer, Gemini for the execution layer. 108 Y2K assets, all labeled. That's 3 model providers, 7 concurrent LLMs, 1 operator holding the dependency layer. My teammate, meanwhile, was prompting the front end, 1 agent, 1 task. Opus 4.7, a job Sonnet 4.6 could have done a third of the time for a tenth of the cost. This isn't a coding skill gap, not even a model selection gap. It's an orchestration gap. He saw the agent as a teammate. I saw the agent fleet as my team. Operators run teams. That's the reflex gap that transfers. Match the worker to the task. Run them in parallel when the work is independent. Hold the dependency layer in your head. Or better yet, write an implementation tracker that any agent can read themselves. That's the bridge. His craft was real, but he thought about agents one prompt at a time. Not as workers you stack at different dependency layers and run in parallel. That kind of orchestration is ingrained in the operator's mind. And the orchestration is what compressed that would have taken a week into 6 hours. What that orchestration produced is a system called GeoStumble. Dave is 12, Pokemon obsessed, types in all caps, and lists Game Shark codes at the bottom of every page. Becky's 15, black backgrounds, dark red text, quotes Edgar Allan Poe slightly incorrectly. Tyler's 14, Linkin Park, JNCO jeans, wallet chains, quotes lyrics as life philosophy. Linda's 41, sells Beanie Babies, ends every paragraph with God bless. Harold is 67, ham radio operator, signs off with his call signs and UTC timestamps. Every 5 minutes, each one wakes up and rewrites their own page. New paragraph, new under construction GIF, new assets. And once it was deployed, it just kept running. No babysitting, no redeploys. That's the proof. Not that it demoed well on stage, but that it kept working afterwards. If you want to see the code, I put a link in the description. You probably think the agents is what I built. What the methodology produced underneath them, that's real. Once GeoStumble was running, I saw it. The plumbing wasn't the hackathon hack. It was the layer that every agent product needs. An AI that lives somewhere, that has persistent memory, that wakes up on its own, takes real action, survives across days. Coding agents, SDR agents, research agents, even game NPCs. They all rebuild that persistent runtime layer because nobody packages it. So I extracted that under 700 lines of code, Apache 2.0, and I call it the persistent agent runtime. GeoStumble is its proof of concept. If you're interested, the link's in the description below. And one last honest thing. Before this hackathon, I had no experience with JAS, Mux, and Cloudflare durable objects. None of it. Every piece of the stack was new. The methodology, the implementation directories, the dependency trackers, the fleet orchestration, that is what made it possible, not pre-existing expertise. So 3 lessons, one for each person watching this. For operators, if you're an operator and you've been waiting to feel ready to start building, you are already late. The methodology that works is context engineering, folder structures, dependency layers, ephemeral agents handing off through persistent trackers. The tools are ready. What's not ready is the assumption that you need to learn to code first. You don't. You need to act like an architect. Your operator instincts already know how to scope a project, decompose it, set checkpoints, and budget resources. That's the entire move. For senior devs, I'm not your replacement, but I'll be honest. Your craft isn't the bottleneck in a compressed time agentic work. The bottleneck is methodology. Which folder gets which agent? Which dependency unlocks the next one? Those are operator decisions. And operators are out shipping you at events like this because we've been making decisions like this for years. On tighter budgets, with harder timelines, with worse tools. And often you haven't had to. The combination is what works. Your craft plus operator-led orchestration. Either one alone is half the bridge. For everyone, this is the one I really want you to take with you. Resource consciousness is the only underrated skill at the moment. Treat agents as MFRO. Treat your context structure as the persistent layer. Match model capability to task difficulty. Every parallel agent is a unit economic decision. That's the move. This channel, Operator Mode, is going to be documenting every week the operator's builder bridge, week by week. Some episodes will be POV teardowns on how I'm building Celavii, an agentic social listening platform, and Cutmaster, an open source MCP for DaVinci Resolve. Some will be interviews with other operators and builders working on what's possible. And some will be sharper opinion pieces, what senior devs are getting wrong, what operators are still afraid of, and what's actually shipping. If you came into this video thinking that you need to code before shipping with agents, you don't. If you came thinking the best model is always the right choice, it's not. If you came in thinking that solo operators cannot keep pace with senior devs, that's no longer true. The bridge is here. The tools are ready. The methodology is named. What's been missing is operators acting on it. So drop a comment. Where are you in the operators builder arc right now? Just thinking about it, mid-pivot, years deep? I read every single comment. Come find me and join me in this operators builders bridge.